So I've decided that I'm going to customize one of my old guitars. Had it for about 15 years, and I think it's about time that I did something to it. So I'm planning on changing the pickups, stripping it back, putting a new paint job on it, and generally just giving it a little bit of a new spruce of life. This is the guitar in question. So you can see it's a Yamaha. I think it's a Pacifica, or at least it's some kind of guitar, some kind of Yamaha. And this is what I'm going to be customizing. So stay tuned. Follow this channel to see the progress.
One eternity later.
I have taken the guitar apart and I have started to clean the paint off. Basically, just by currently just applying some paint stripper, and this is what it looks like at the moment. So that is it, covered in paint stripper. I'm gonna leave it for about 4 hours, and hopefully it will come when I come back. It will be all blistered up and ready to scratch off. So I scraped off all of the paint stripper, and yeah, all that's happened is some scratches to the paintwork. It doesn't actually seem to have done anything at all. So it looks like I'm gonna have to come up with another plan. Okay, so my paint stripper failed, as I showed earlier on, so I had to buy something different, and I've just applied it, so hopefully it will work this time. I bought a couple of different things, so hopefully they will, at least one of them will work. So this is what I have. A lot of things I've read online said get aircraft stripper. I couldn't find any of that in B&Q, so I got this. So, like it says there, not suitable for plastic, acrylic, PVC, vinyl. In other words, don't put this into any of those things. Don't put it into a container that's made from any of those things. It says on the back to put it into glass or into metal, and because it basically just eats through those things. So the guitar, I have put a very small amount on it and brushed it over, and so I will just wait now to see if there is anything happening. It does look as though there's already a little bit of blistering happening, but that could just be the brush strokes. So we'll come back later to have a look to see how that has gone. Okay, so I've left this for only about 5 minutes, and already you can see there's some scratches on it where I've just been trying to peel it off. I mean, okay, it's not all coming off, but it is so much better than before. Like, even the texture, the way it feels, is like it's roughed up. This wasn't like that with the other paint stripper, so clearly this stuff is working. I've only added a little bit, so I'm probably now going to add a lot more. Look at that. Get it focus. It's not focusing. Why isn't it focusing? There we go. That is paint. So I'm going to add a more generous amount and leave it for 15 minutes, and hopefully that will actually eat into it a bit more. So it looks as though the paint stripper also hasn't worked. It's worked a bit better, as we can see here, but still there is a lot of paint left, so I need to try something different. So I've got this, a heat gun, so I'm going to plug that in, and hopefully that'll do the trick. I've resorted to wearing this mask because it got so dusty in here, and all the fumes of all the different stuff I've been using, it really started to get to my head. So this is how I look at the moment. So as you can see, there's almost like a little bit of a veneer or something. I don't think it's a veneer, but it certainly is another layer of wood. So I guess it is a veneer, which I guess they put on there when Yamaha built this guitar in Korea. I think it is. It does say on the back actually where it's made, or it did until I sanded it off. Okay. That's not helpful. It's not Japanese, put it that way. So it is definitely the more budget version of the Yamaha RG something. I think. Anyway, it's some sort of Ibanez rip-off. Can you believe that? Ibanez ripped off other companies, and then Yamaha ripped off Ibanez. Anyway, when they built it, they obviously decided that this here didn't look very attractive, and they put a little bit of a veneer over the top of it, and then painted it anyway. Go figure. So I think I'm actually going to take this off and expose this here. And I quite like the fact that it is clearly made up of different parts, different bits of wood. It's not entirely, it's not like a one piece. I like the fact that the grain is not matching up. I think that's interesting. So I'm going to take it all back. You can see up here, it's actually quite interesting under there as well. So I'm going to sand it all back, and I'm going to add some stain. That is my intention anyway, to stain it like kind of a bluey sort of colour. I think I'm undecided at the moment what to do about this, because what I would like is for these two to contain some active pickups, possibly EMG. Other pickup brands are available. But at the moment I haven't been able to find a configuration of the solderless pickups which include this center one. And actually everything that I've found is those two pickups and like a Les Paul style pickup selector. So I'm going to have to sort of think about that a bit more. I've obviously got these two, volume and tone, and I don't really want to be drilling more holes. I just want it to kind of be a more simplified version of this. I had wondered about blocking this up and then actually adding my own veneer, but I think that might be a little bit complicated for me at this stage. I think that what I might end up doing is actually just sticking one in. I had wondered about putting like a lipstick pickup in or something like that, but again, I'm not actually sure how that would work, having active and passive together. I got a new toy. So I was struggling to sand this with my mouse sander. I got a little Dremel, and that was going well, but the sanding bit failed. So I want to go this. So let's see how this goes. So it's been a couple of weeks, and I'm glad to say that I finally managed to sand all of the paint off of my Yamaha RGX. So this is it. Now, obviously, I've not managed to, well, or rather, I've not bothered to sand in the pickup cavities or in the electronics and the tremolo cavity. But yeah, this is it. Try and give you a bit of a close up. So I sanded it all back using my mouse sander and a like a rotary bit, which was all about 40 grit. So it's very rough. I don't know how well you can see it here. I'll try and get some close-ups a bit later on. Where there's some massive inconsistencies in quality. It's really quite harsh in some places. So I will be going over it with some finer grit as well. The intention is to actually put a veneer over the top of this, because I am planning to put EMGs into this and removing this, or deleting this, I guess. And so my plan is to block it up. I do need to create a wider cavity linking the two pickup cavities together so that the wires can get through. So there will be a little bit more of a machining job, I suppose, to make sure all of the wires can get through it properly. So I will be blocking this up. And so because I'm blocking this up, there will be obviously an inconsistency in wood grain across, like, over the whole body. So my plan is then to just cover it over with a veneer and stain it. And I think what I'm hoping to do is try and get some sort of a burst effect going on. So I've seen a couple of videos where people have blowtorch the guitar to get a burnt look, and then sand it back and then stain it over. So the intention would be quite dark here around the edges from the burning, and then possibly like a teal sort of alcohol-based stain over the top of that. So first time ever doing anything like this. It's the first time that I've actually successfully completed a sandback entirety of a body. So there's been other times where I've attempted projects before with older guitars, and I've just got tired, got bored of sanding back, largely because I was poor and I didn't have access to power tools. And so this time I've, like I said, I've used my drill bit and my mouse sander, which made life so much easier. But as I've said, it's also so harsh now that there was definitely like some, I guess you could say, surface damage to the wood, which I need to try and rectify before I move forward. I also really need to clean out these cavities. They've accumulated an awful lot of dust over the past couple of months. It's just been sat in my garage, and every time I've sanded it over, you know, any new bits of gunk have just gone in there, and the dust has all sort of accumulated. I also, thinking back to the very beginning, I used various forms of paint stripper to try and actually get the paint off more easily than sanding it, and so there's an awful lot of paint stripper residue remaining in these cavities. In fact, you can see it in quite clearly in there, all that white stuff. I've tried washing it out with a soap solution, and it kind of got some of it off, but I think it needs some white spirit, so I will do that. But yeah, this is as far as I've got. Quite excited, looking forward to the outcome. I'm really open to suggestions really about what people think I should do with regards to the bridge. So I like fixed bridges, and I already have a guitar that works and is playable, a PRS custom standard, PRS custom SE, which is beautiful, and you know that has a trem, you know, so, and it is beautiful. It doesn't bother me at all that it has a trem, but I would quite like a guitar that has a fixed bridge, and I've been thinking about various ways of modifying this to make it a fixed bridge setup. Now, obviously, I know that I could just, you know, put back the trem system that this came with, and then put a block in so that it doesn't go anywhere. There's other things that I've looked into, like actually putting a physical bit of wood in this cavity, gluing it in, possibly adding a screw in or something, going into this part of the body so that it is reinforced, covering this up, because it's getting veneered anyway, so it doesn't matter that there's a bit of an overlap here, and then sticking a hardtail bridge on it. Now with that, I'd have to think about whether or not I want it to still be through body strings, or whether I'm happy to have top loaded. Now, I think that it might not matter, but given the fact that I'm going to be putting some EMGs in this, I effectively want it to be like a metal guitar, so I'm probably not going to be going any lower than 10s, 10 gauges on my strings. I want to have a little bit of freedom to go above that as well, and so obviously that would increase string tension onto the bridge area. So if there's a weakness here, it might pull up the bridge. So these are things that I'm just thinking about at the moment. Yeah. The other thing is that because this is effectively a Strat setup, I guess, in terms of it having it had the setup for a 5-way pickup selector. I'm kind of struggling a bit to find a good EMG setup that comes with that. So I might either have to just reuse the old one, which I don't think works all that well with EMGs as far as I understand. But it could well be a case of swapping out the 5-way selector with a 2-way selector or 3-way selector, like you have on a Les Paul. Just putting it there, you know, because it's getting veneered, it doesn't really matter if I just re-drill it or something to make it fit. There's plenty of space in that cavity for me to just drill it through in a different area. The other thing then is thinking about where the battery is going to go. Now this is a pretty deep cavity, so I think there could be some space for the 12-volt battery to go. If not, I might end up having to do some routing. I don't have a router, as you call it in America. We might even call it that here. I'm not a pro by any stretch of the imagination, so it could well be that we call it a router here as well. It's not really the point. So as I said, I don't have one, but I have a drill with router bits. So it's going to be a bodge, but hey, I don't care. It's going to be fun. It's a Korean Yamaha. I bought it for £95 from a bookshop in Aberystwyth when I was a student. So, and it's given me an awful lot of joy. Like, I've loved playing this guitar. It's been a real pleasure. But it doesn't owe me anything. So I don't really mind if it becomes a little bit of not a lemon, but it just is a continuous project. I'm more than happy to sort of get things wrong. Like, if the stain doesn't work out, I'll just sand it back, And if the veneer doesn't work, I'll just take it off, and I'll put it a solid colour again, just things like that. I don't really care too much about that. I obviously have an idea in my mind about what I want it to look like, and that is what I'm aiming for. But we'll just have to wait and see.